say higher education in the English speaking say society. So now we are going to look at a few more aspects, that why is it say higher education that is there in English. So of course the institution that we just saw and discussed in the previous slide were in English speaking, which is UK and US, that were there. But some of the reasons why English has become the predominant role that English as a language played is because of the predominance of UK and USA, United Kingdom, which was the colonial power, which was there in the or say colonial power that was covering almost 80% of the earth, was say dominated by United Kingdoms. And later on in USA, United States of America emerged, especially after the First World War, as the superpower. And that was the reason why most of the educational institutions flourished, higher education flourished in these two say places. And then of course later on, after the Second World War and the revolution in the technical world was in the medium of internet, Microsoft, Silicon Valley and tech revolution. Due to these say aspects, what happened was that these were the institutions that were mainly in United States of America, and as a result you can see that they were all in English, and that's why it was promoting English as a language, because it was the means in which it was prepared. Later on, you can see the University of London started the distance education courses, which we now call external students, those who appear in the exam and get a degree. So that distance education started somewhere in, say, England, in the University of London in the year 1858. And then later on, you can see some of the interesting, say, development called open universities. The Indian versions of open universities are Indira Gandhi Open University and Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open Universities. So these were the universities that were modeled after the American and British counterparts of their open universities, where students can directly appear for the exam and can do the needful. Now, later on, somewhere in the say end of the 20th century, internet was booming, and in the first couple of decades of 21st century, something called MOOCs were introduced. I guess some of the technical students must be aware of MOOCs, which is mass online open courses, which were available for all for free of cost and from some of the best universities in the world. So that was a platform called Coursera, where some of the international courses were offered. Now you can see in the sub point that Coursera does offer the courses in not only English, but in Hindi, Spanish, French, Arabic, and as many as 12 plus, say, European languages, which include Asian languages as Hindi also. But needless to say that majority of the courses were introduced and still are available in English language. And that's why you can see the higher education, English as a language plays a predominant role. Now, we look at the higher education in English, why it is say predominantly there, and why we cannot call it English as a natives language. Is because English is no longer the language of natives, right? If we call it a natives language, the native users, the British and the Americans, those who are the actual natives, are not more than 10%, right? So all these English language users, including me and all of you who are able to follow me, I guess none of you are from English background, as you are not native speakers of English, but we are using it. So we belong to this category of 90% of the people who belong to English, either as a second or third language you are using it. So this is what makes it very interesting, that English is no longer the language of the British or the native speakers. Now this is why you cannot go by the argument that it is a foreign language or somebody else's language. It has become a world language, though there are disagreement in terms of statistics, that is it the maximum people who are using English. That's true, but it's not that all of them are native speakers. The other aspect that we need to know is this, that the English has become an official language, though it is not the English people, including a country like India, where official language of say law, of the court, of the parliament, of the documentation is English. right? So far as the national language debate is there, there are many say school of thought in India, those who don't consider Hindi to be the national language, and that debate goes on. But constitution and the legal aspects, you can see in India also, English is an official language. So there are more than 150 countries around the world where English is used as an official language or national language. And also due to the rise of technical world, and because of these connectivity, English has become the connecting language, a link language between two. So the people who may not agree with them may have to agree with the connecting language. Say for example, even in India, if you go to southern India, you may not know the southern South Indian languages, and they obviously may not know the languages that we speak in the northern belt, like Hindi and Gujarati. Then the most common language will not be Hindi, but would be English, especially in the case of southern India. Similarly, there are many say countries where the native language we may not know, and will be left with no other choice but to use English as a connecting language. So this is something that makes it important. Not only the nationalities, but also the global institutions, global education institutions of higher education. 80% of these institutions around the world, they offer their courses in English language. So that also makes it very, very say obvious for any person who want to pursue higher education to have English. And of course, the best resources in the world, irrespective of the discipline and the branches you say, they are available in English. In terms of the books, the websites, the resources, there are many, even lectures now, thanks to technology, they are available in English as a language, right? So this is what the background that I think that I should share. I'm sure most of you are convinced and are of the opinion that yes, English is important. I don't think I need to prove the importance of English language. But what I wanted to draw your attention is that first, it's no longer the language of the Britishers or of the natives. It is the language of, say, if not the world, but at least the most common language that connects the world due to a host of reasons that we just discussed. So now we are going to look at a few more aspects in terms of if it is important as a language, why is it that we find English to be a problem, or why is it challenging for all of us? I would actually start now, but I would suggest that in case you have questions, queries, you may take note of it, and you may use this chat box for your say questions. And the moment we are done with this quote-unquote lecture, we will discuss, and I would appreciate if you have some questions to use this platform for asking these questions. So let's get back to English as a language. It is important, and I'm sure most of us agree with this. We may or may not like the language, but we cannot deny the fact that it is very, very essential for anybody who want to say excel in higher education. So what is it that makes it difficult for anybody to learn? The first is a common phenomena which is seen around the world, where English is taught as a second language. It is taught as a language rather than as a skill. And I'm sure we are aware of the difference, that when you teach any language as a language, your purpose would be to understand the linguistic aspect and phonetical aspect of it. And your purpose would be to use it either as a linguist or as a language teacher. But your concentration will not be on say functional aspect of it. Your concentration will not be on language as a skill, that is ability to use it rather than say study it as a language. So that's the first challenge that I could see. The second is the issue, which is not only for English language studies, but also for most of the subjects, that it is based on teaching. Entire teaching is assessment oriented, the exam oriented, that ultimately as a teacher I'm going to take an exam, and as a student you are going to appear for this say question. So this is something which is making this say very narrow in terms of its output, that ultimately I'm going to clear my exam. And that's why the problem is that it is quite possible that the people who score very good in their English language say examination and may not know English so well. On the other hand, there are many who are really good in their language usage, in their skills, but may not score well in their exam. So that is another challenge, that it's all about assessment, and that too only written assessment, right? To the best of my understanding, if you look at the say syllabus, you look at the assessment pattern, you will see that ultimately there'll be a written test at the end of a semester or a year, and that is based on written say exam, and that's why only one skill is tested, and then skill language as a skill is not developed. And the last is the challenge that most of the institutions are facing, and we even at the Marwadi are facing this say challenge, which is a heterogeneous group of learners in the same class, right? So say for example, I teach in law, the international law, and what I can see is in my class of say 60 to 50 students, there are students from India, from say regional background, students from say around India, as many states, international students, with students having say a huge background difference in their language proficiency. So that makes it very challenging for a facilitator or a teacher to deal with the heterogeneous group that is there in the class, right? So this is something which is making the language acquisition and language teaching learning very challenging. Then you might ask that if it is the case, then what could be the way out? How do we go about it as maybe students and as facilitator? Because I could see some of the teachers also in the say group. So you may think as say teachers, and you may also think as a student. So now we'll try and focus on some of the aspects into how do we acquire the proficiency in English language? What are the way out? So these are some of the suggestions, broadly speaking, citing some of the scholars, and that I think would help some of you. So for example, when you start learning English as a language, try and focus on the functional aspect of the language. What do I mean by functional aspect? See, function means you should be able to do something with that skill. Say, for example, if I know English, what can I do? Let's say, can I say ask for some information? Let's say by writing an email, or let's say by asking a question, right? Can I do that? If I can do that, that means I know one function of that language, right? Let's say I want to buy something and I want some opinion, right? So that means you ask for an opinion, that see, I want to buy, let's say, a new smartphone. I want the opinion of the people, that which is a good cell phone for me. So that means what you are doing is you are using English for say asking for somebody's opinion. Or maybe you have to write an application as a student or maybe as an employee, and there your function is to write an application. When you can do that, that means you are focusing on the functional aspect rather than learning grammar and other aspects which are going to help you in your exam, but will not help you in the actual life in terms of writing an email or asking a question or maybe answering a few questions. So that way, when you focus on the functional aspect of English, I'm sure it will help. You can see at the end of this first point I mentioned into bracket called CEF, which is a common European framework, which is a very interesting way of self-assessing. Like you may not need, say, a teacher. You can assess yourself. You can search it out on, say, online Google. You will find common European framework, with the help of which you'll be able to ask yourself, where do you stand in the language parameters? So what is it? I'll take a minute or two to explain this common European framework. It is not a syllabus. Common European framework is a grid with the help of which you can ask yourself, where do you stand in the language proficiency? So let's say there are 6 levels. I'm sure you must have heard of it, called A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. There are 6 levels, and guess you know. If you don't, then I just inform you that even international say exams of not only of English language but of all the languages, like IELTS is very popular for English assessment internationally. Same way in French, it is called DELF, DELF. In Spanish, it is DEL, DELE. So all these international say assessment bodies, they use common European framework, which means if I, as an examiner, I want to assess some of the students and would want to give them grades, I'll assess them with the language tools I have, and then I'll see, can you do this, these many functions? If you can, that means you belong to A1 or A2 or B1 or B2 or C1 or C2. A1 being the lowest and C2 being the highest. So these are the 6 levels. Now, how do I identify a student to be in A1 or A2? Well, in A1, again in 4 skills also, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So I'll put the can-do statements that are there for each of the category. Let's say A1, there are 5 to 6 can-do statements, which means, can the learner introduce himself? Can learner ask the say question? Or even before that, can learner understand the question asked? Right. So if you can do, let's say, these 4 things, that means you are A1 clear. And in A2, there'll be higher order skills, that can you ask a question? Can you ask and understand the opinion-based questions? Right. So the higher it goes, more and more complex things you can do. Right. So based on that, you can assess. So let's say you can assess your first language also, be it Hindi, Gujarati, or Arabic. That where do I stand in my language, let's say in Arabic, or maybe my language in English. So you can look at this common European framework and you can judge yourself that where do you stand. And accordingly, you can seek guidance if you are a student. And accordingly, you can teach your students if you are a teacher. So this is what I think one should know when you want to say acquire proficiency. That I think should help you to ask yourself, where do you stand? Now, after this first step, I would strongly recommend that you ask yourself a question, as in, what is it that you want to learn? Okay, let's the answer is English. Then the moot question would be, why do you want to learn English? The clearer is your answer, clearer would be your ways to learn it. Right. So let's say you want to learn English because you want to go to study abroad, where it is an English-speaking society. So that means your goal is quite clear, that you want to go to an institution which is not only English medium, but also in the English-speaking society. Let's say abroad, you want to go to a US or UK or any English-speaking society for that matter. So your goal is very clear, that you want to learn English in order to study abroad. Or let's say you are a businessman and you want to learn English because your trade and commerce internationally you are doing, and the medium that you are using is English, right? So when you are clear with your expectations of learning, you will be in a position to set your goal better, and you know that what do you want to do with your language once you know it and once you learn it. So that should be the second step. Now, the other aspects I just want to discuss with you is the exposure that you should have. You expose yourself with say speaking situations. It's not only speaking, it could be reading, writing, all 4 skills. But for example, I have taken speaking situation. Now, one is obviously the traveling to the places, which is the places of English ones. Hello. I guess I'm audible to all of you. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. I guess some of them connectivity could be a problem. So please check your audio once. If I'm not audible, you can send me in the chat. So I guess I am audible.
It's very
okay.
Very clear.
Okay. Thank you. So the second thing is to get an exposure to say English-speaking environment or English environment where it is used. Right. So let's say you can see that you can travel to this such places thanks to technology. You can chat with them. You can chat with the natives. If you are lucky to be in the institutions like, let's say, Marwadi, where we have the students from 22 countries, right? And they may or may not be from English-speaking countries. Like, let's say, Syrian students, they are not from English-speaking countries, but you can see that they are proficient in terms of their first language, which is Arabic, but they have no other choice but to use English for their common communication, because that's the option that they have to use it. So that way you can put yourself into a situation where you can use it because you are exposed to these places. If you can travel to these places where English is the common language, I'm sure it will help. So that's the second aspect which I thought I should share with you. It is more for teachers, the third point, which is activity-based classrooms, right? So now lecture method, including this one, because we are more discussing about the theory, I'll not be able to introduce activities, but if it is the language acquisition your target, then you should go for activity-based classrooms, where children learn the best when they're encouraged to participate in the wide range of activities that stimulates the communication. So the communication happens when there is an environment of speaking which can be created in the classroom, and good teachers always know how to utilize the classroom togetherness, because see, languages, not only English, any languages cannot be learned in isolation. They are always learned in say groups. They are always learned with the help of one another, not only of teachers. In fact, a teacher's role would be that of a facilitator or that of say an outsider, but it is mostly the students who would learn from one another, and that I'm sure would help them stimulate. So these are the very, very broad and general say ideas which I thought I should share with you in terms of how do we learn to English. Before that, you need to know your individual personal why do you want to learn English, based on which you can always say come back, and you can always say no, that why do I want to learn English language. And then these some of the frameworks, some of the means may help you to learn, right? So these were some of the observations I have. Now I'll just share some of the resources which I used for preparing this. You may go through these, and I'll definitely share after this is done with all of you the resources that are there. Now I would invite the questions and queries if you have related to our discussion that we just had, and feel free to ask the questions, and I'll try my best to explain in whatever ways I can. Right, so I'll go through the slide one more time so that you can have a look at it, and then I just would keep the session open for interaction, queries, and questions. These are the milestones that we discussed for higher education. That initially, and by the way, Oxford was not the first university, but it was the first university in English-speaking society. Otherwise, it was Italian. The first university was established in Italy, and not in English-speaking ones. But in English-speaking world, these were the institutions that developed. Cambridge and Oxford, later on Harvard in USA, and then these national universities that went on. And especially after 19th century, you can see the production, if we use the term production, because industrialization demanded a number of say graduates, number of say scholars, those who are well versed with their mechanical kinds of duties that they were expected to do. So there, if you see in say 1870, in entire year there was one say PhD scholar that was there, and within 100 years you can see the rise in the number. By 1970, the number of PhD, we are talking about UK, in alone UK there were almost 30,000 of PhD scholars were there. So you can see the rise of higher education, and then of course why English as a language is predominant in higher education, due to the reason that it is UK and USA that were predominant players, Internet and Microsoft, and the Tech Valley, the Silicon Valley, which is predominantly in USA, and that's why the mode of communication, the medium of communication would be English. And then distance education, open universities, all these best universities around the world, they are using English as the medium of their instruction. and the Coursera, MOOCs, TEDx. There are many platforms of mass, say, online courses. Yes, they are available, some of them in regional languages also, but the wide range that these online courses are available in English, there is no other language that can match English. So that will widen the range of your learning. And then, of course, it's native versus non-native. And in Indian context, Swadeshi and Videshi, we need to understand there is no Videshi thing with English now, because it has become the most common language in the world. And as you can see, more than 150 countries around the world, 80% institutions around the world are using English as their say language. And that's why it's obvious that we will have to go for English. And then the three challenges that we discussed, that I'm sure all of us are convinced with the importance of say English. But due to these three say challenges, it's difficult for the practitioners, the teachers, and even the institutions to offer it, because there is no homogeneous group. Let's say all Gujaratis, all from Gujarati background, all from, let's say, weak English background. If this is the class with me, I'll know exactly what kind of activities to offer. But if within the same class I have the students from English medium as well as from Gujarati medium, students from India and students from, let's say, Kazakhstan, then it will be very, very difficult for me to offer any activities that could suit to these many. So due to these reasons, it has been challenging for both facilitator and the students to learn English. And then there are some of the suggestions that I shared with you. Now, based on our questions and queries that you might have, you can unmute yourself and you can ask also, or you can type your question also here, so that way I'll be able to get your question and I'll try to answer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, my name is Rushabh. Sir, actually my question is that how much importance is given to this English communication from interview, from placement point of view?
Well, it depends, because which is the company and what is the nature of the job that is being offered. Let's say if it is a multinational company or a company in India, let's say there is a company in Bangalore, which is not an international company, but let's say Think and Learn is a very good example. It's an Indian company, but okay, somebody wants to join. Yeah. So let's say it's a Think and Learn company where in India you know that it's a multilingual country. So the most common language of the workplace would be English. And let's say if you're applying for such a company, then English would be mandatory, right? But understand the difference between English as a medium, right? It's not say end. Let's say you are not applying for an English teacher. Let's say you're applying as an engineer. Let's say you're applying as say a data analyst, right? So your technical knowledge has to be there, right? You cannot say that, okay, I'm very good with my English, so I'll get selected. That is not going to work. But importance of English would be given based on these things, that if it is, let's say, a multinational company where the basic communication and stuff would be in say English, then obviously the importance would be given to English. But you will have to take care of your domain knowledge. Domain knowledge could be commerce or engineering or law, whatever is your specialization. That has to be there. There is no second opinion about it. But let's say you want to work in Metoda GIDC, where the communication, your nature of job would be using only English, or sorry, only Gujarati or your native language only, then it's not necessary for you to have English language skills. So it depends on the company and the nature of job.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my name is Keyur Dhol.
Yes, Keyur.
I have a question related to my field. I am from computer and IT department.
Okay.
So computer and IT department connected people like professor and students. All
Okay.
are all are knowing their technical field knowledge in English.
Okay.
So why they how to get better knowledge for as a communication as a perspective of English language, because they knowledge of English but as a technically.
Hmm. Okay, if I understand your question correctly, let's say if you are a say computer engineer or any technical background person, they are
Yes.
usually expected to be good enough in English. When I say good enough means because most of the resources, most of the books, most of the lectures, they are available in English. So let's say if you want to get updates, your update would be from international fraternity. Let's say all IT engineers around the world would be sharing their updates in which language?
English
English,
only.
right? So if there is a latest update, like I'm not talking about the update of your, let's say,
Yeah, yeah.
application, which you don't have to follow. I'm talking about, let's say, this is the latest trend, and these are the latest kinds of virus or antivirus or any software. So those discussions, those debates, those agreement and disagreements would be at the international level, would be in English, and that's why it's like minimum that you should be able to understand and use English, at least regarding your field, which is, let's say, computer. Then definitely IT and computer, the major works are done around the world. It's not only in one sector, but in almost all the sectors. So as we discussed in the slide also, that is, it will be the most connecting language. It will be the most common language that's going to be used. So you should be very say focused in terms of, okay, an IT engineer, and that too, am I a programmer, am I a software developer, am I a web developer, right? So depending on that specialized say area, you will need specialized kinds of say English. So there you should be it's okay if you cannot, let's say, give a public speech in English, because that's not the requirement of your field. Then you don't need to worry much about your public speaking skills, right? As a programmer, you should be able to understand the updates that are mailed or blogged or shared by some lectures online. So I should be able to understand that update in my say field. If you can do that, good for you. You don't need to write English novels because that's not your area. So that's, I think you should do.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So I think there is Ria Makhani. She's writing this in the chat. I'm reading her observation. There are any best app or site for where I can prepare for advanced level of English to get proficiency in English. Yes, there are a few websites and other things, but again, you need to do your kind of say background check that let's say what is the reason why Ria, let's say, wants to learn English. So once you are clear with your individual why, right, that why Ria wants to learn to English. Let's say if I ask you, why do you want to learn English? Is it that you are planning to go abroad? Is it that you want to become an English teacher? Is it that you want to write a novel in English? Let's say you want to become the next Chetan Bhagat. Bad ambition, but for an example. Or anything that you want to do in your field where English is going to help you. So once you have this say background check clear, based on that you can say ask yourself that, okay, I am an engineer and I want to go for this, and that's why I want to improve. So based on that you can always get courses. Like we did discuss Coursera, and thanks to it's a blessing in disguise because of this corona and lockdown thing. Now hundreds and hundreds, in fact thousands of courses are available on Coursera and many platforms around the world, free of cost. So courses are available in all these say MOOCs, which is mass open online courses, and some of them are really, really good. But you should know that what kind of English you want to learn, and especially why. What's the nature of job that you want to appear, and accordingly you can say start any courses which are available. Let's say Coursera is a good platform. edX is another good platform where you'll find many wonderful crash courses you can enroll. But first is you check your say your requirement. Why do you want to learn? And accordingly, you can go for it. I hope I have answered, Ria. Okay, then Abdali, I think, is writing how to gain proficiency to improve language. I think it covers the same. A teacher, Ria said, I want to become a teacher. So do you want to become a teacher, an English teacher? Okay, if it is an English teacher, then yes, you need to know a lot of things. First is, of course, English proficiency. You should be proficient in English in all four skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And you can read some of the blogs of the ELT experts. You should know what are the updates in, say, English language teaching. And I'm sure you'll find. I just drop a few of the terms which I think you should note and you should search and explore. I'm talking to Ria and her ambition to become an English teacher. So again, as a teacher, English teacher, is it the school that you're targeting, high school that you're targeting, or college that you're targeting? Accordingly, the things would vary. But in general, English language teaching, if we say, then it is like you should know what are the trends, such as English as a second language, English for specific purposes, right? Let's say activity-based learning. So there are lots of these developments, communicative mode of teaching, right? So all these things are available, especially the activity-based learning is more fruitful than lecture method. Lecture method is not going to help definitely in language, say, teaching learning. So that you should keep as the bottom line, that your students should do something. Your students should use the language, and as a teacher of a language, you should provide that opportunity wherein they can try and can make mistakes. And then there are many do's and don'ts available, but you can start with this, that you should speak less in your class as a language teacher, and your students speak more. And obviously, when they speak more, they'll make more mistakes, and you'll get a chance to help them and to correct them. So I think this is what you should aim at, and you can start with that. So that's for Ria. And I think which also answers Abdali Bharmal, I think, is business student.
Yes, of course, sir.
Yeah, so I think applies the self say introspection, or the questions would be why Abdali wants to learn English, and accordingly you can find the resources.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Sure. Thank you, Abdali.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
So, yeah, so we do have some more known faces and unknown faces as well. So please feel free to either unmute and ask your question, or maybe you can type in the chat, whichever is easy for you.
Hello, I am
Yes.
audible.
Yes,
My
you
name
are
is
audible. Yes.
name is, and my question is that we are the native people. We are Gujarati, so we speak English on the basis of Gujarati. We first write Gujarati and then translate into English, but it is long process. So if we don't follow the translation Gujarati to English, so sometimes translate into English, the problem is probability most of problem is done. So we can directly go on English without base of Gujarati.
I think somebody joined. Okay, I could not hear your name. Can you please repeat your name?
Kishan.
Okay, Kishan. See, this use of Gujarati and use of translation is not a bad thing. It's just one of the methods called translation, grammar translation method. Only thing is you need to get it, say, faster and faster. If you are following that method, if you are comfortable with that method, nothing wrong. But you need to do it in, say, more systematic method or systematic way, so that you can use grammar translation method. But you have to do it repeatedly and over again, so that you can get mastery. So far as Kishan, what do you do? Are you a student?
I am a student from Marwadi, but I am currently doing job.
Okay, so you completed your studies?
Yes, sir, I completed.
Okay. Now, like, had you been to the Marwadi? We always say that you use Marwadi campus as your, say, practice, because on our campus we do have students from 22 countries, and that
Yeah.
makes it an available option for you to try and get friends with international students, talk to them, discuss with them. That could be one way. Now, since you have already completed your studies, you may think of, say, online platforms wherein you can actually engage into, say, let's say, social media, where you find some of the friends with whom you can discuss, you can talk, you can chat, and you can use those platforms for language practices. So that could be one way. And I think we did discuss with Ria previously that you can also enroll into some of the courses. And thanks to this situation that we are in, there are plenty of courses available wherein you can, say, go for online courses and free of cost at home. So those courses could also help you. But you will have to discipline yourself, because see, language learning, and especially the proficiency level, see, initial will not be difficult. Only problem would be, like, if we talk in terms of IELTS, then to score 4 or 5 bands is not very difficult. To upgrade yourself from 5, 6 level to 7 would be most challenging, because that's called improvising, right? So there, what you need is patience, whole lot of patience, to, and discipline would be a very good virtue. So let's say if you enroll into any online course, and especially when it is free, it is likely that you will not complete the course because it's free, and that way. So I would suggest that you enroll and also discipline yourself. So before you enroll, take your time. But once you think that, okay, now you are say convinced, then you carry on and don't give up. So that is what I could think of right now. But your goal should be clear, that why do you want to learn English, right? So then accordingly, you will not waste your time into unnecessary activities like reading novels. It won't help, right?
Yes. Mm.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Kishan, for your question. Yes. Yeah, sure, welcome. Okay, do we have some more questions? Okay, we have Bansi Kimani. Hi, sir. I hope how to help. Okay, I think Bansi has written a question which says how to help child to learn English from childhood. I read somewhere that child can learn more languages, especially since childhood only. How can we help a kid to learn English? Okay, so Bansi has a question, how to help children or a child to learn English. Yes, it is true. Her observation is that she has heard somewhere that children can learn more than one language easily, and that's true. Psychologically and linguistically proved that you can learn, children can learn languages faster, provided, or condition applies that they are given environment. Let's say I know many of my family friends, those who are, let's say, Maharashtrian, say living in Gujarat, studying in English medium say school. So such children, 4 or 5 languages, they are not just good, but they are proficient, right? Because they are Maharashtrian by birth, so the child would know Marathi. They are living in, say, Gujarat, so they'll know Gujarati. They're watching TV, so Hindi, of course, is by default. And they are studying in, say, English medium school, so they acquire English also. So that is true, that children can learn language very easily. How can you help? Well, you can say discuss with your child. You can say watch movies together and discuss, not just watch, discuss that what did you see, favorite dialogues, songs you can sing together, right? And for children, there is one more observation, which is don't go by A, B, C, D, or C for cat and B for bat, but rather the whole language approach, which is the way we follow Hindi, right? We watch entire movie in Hindi and we follow it. Yes, there is advantage with Hindi as it's very close to Gujarati if it is a Gujarati background, which is not the case with English. But same theory of a whole language can be applied for say English also, that you watch the movies and You may start with the stories. There is one very good resource on YouTube called Bookbox. I'll just type so that you can get to know this. Bookbox is a wonderful channel on YouTube which you can use to explore. Bookbox will offer, let's say, around I think 40 to 50 stories they have in animation. The same stories would be there in almost 10, 12 languages, national and international. So let's say there is one animation story of 5 minutes with subtitle in Gujarati. The same is there in Hindi. Same is there in French, Spanish, many languages. So let's say initially, I don't know the age group of the child you are inquiring, but let's say 5 to 6 years is good enough to start. Even 3 to 4 is fine. And the duration of these stories would be 5 minutes, 10 minutes to start with, I'm saying. So then you can go for these stories with subtitles, maybe rhymes with subtitles. I would not recommend all the rhymes, but maybe some rhymes could help. But stories definitely work, animation stories with subtitles to start with. Then you can go the advanced, say, stories, longer stories of, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then you can switch over to movies if it helps. Right? So these are some of the observations to start with. And then I'm sure it could help. But core learning would be always a good idea. You learn with your child. You polish your language also and help the child also. Only thing is you have to be a learner. Don't be a teacher to a child. So let's learn together, and I'm sure it will encourage child to say learn together. Otherwise, the way they detest their teachers will also detest you because you are teaching them. So last line is what I would quote. I think Aurobindo, in which publication I forgot, he said, observe that all children by default like to learn, but most of them don't like to be taught. So if you can manage this balance, not to teach them, but learn with them, so I'm sure it might help. So I guess, yes, Bansi is saying thank you. You're welcome, Bansi. Yes, any other questions? Observations, feedback? So I could see some of the friends whom I don't know, like Chirag is there, Rushabh, I don't know, Ihab and others, Shivani Joshi. I don't know them, but they are welcome and I would thank them for their participation. But before we end, I just want to ask your feedback in terms of if there are any other aspects, any other area on which you would like to have the webinars. So because of this lockdown, we are expected to have some more webinars. So I'll be happy to offer some more webinars. But I'll need your suggestions. If there are some specific area in which you would expect me to prepare some webinars, I would love to.
Sir, if you are able to take a webinar related to IELTS.
Okay.
Because sir, I know you since that time. You also took some lectures related to IELTS in Marwari.
Yeah, sure, sir. I am also with them.
Now, it's a welcome suggestion, and I would like to help in that way. The only problem with this IELTS preparation would be that it's practically not possible to cover up in 1 or 2 webinars. It will need a longer, say, duration.
No, sir, not related to that, but basic information about IELTS and what are the preparations to be done and what are the exams that are conducted and duration and fees related, all that.
Oh yes, that can be done. That can be done. That's true. It can be done.
A type of introduction.
Yeah, it's there, but why do you want a second-rate or second-hand information where British Council and British Library? So all these are available with the best. Like you just type on the 2020 I'll say information, that booklet and the courses and information are available. But nevertheless, I'll definitely prepare this basics of IELTS do's and don'ts, and would definitely it can be done. So I'll definitely maybe next week. I'll check my schedule also, but otherwise next week I'll try and announce.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sure, sure. So how did you come to know about this webinar?
So from Instagram.
Okay, from Instagram. I did not upload it on Instagram, but
Yes, I am also come from Instagram.
okay, fine, fine.
I-
Oh,
search out-
from Marwadi page you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
Sure.
can you give me information about this webinar?
Sorry. Who gave-
Keyur, the last man speaking to you, he
Okay.
gave me the information
Fine.
about
Fine.
this.
Fine. Yeah, sure, sure. So I think Facebook and Insta could be a good platform for me to inform. So I'll definitely, okay, some of them got it from WhatsApp. Yes. So sure, I'll use all the platforms to communicate what are the
Actually, sir, I have a suggestion, sir. Each and every department is not sharing this webinar. So if you can help them to tell them that to share that you are taking a webinar, take for example. So we are always getting information from Instagram only
okay, okay.
about different, not related,
Yeah.
means not related to our branch, but from different branch.
No, I got it. Now, the reason why, Rishabh, we are not able to coordinate is because we are not working together from campus. One. Second, because each and every department, they are doing some webinars or the other, and their promotional aspects. And that's why practically it was not done. But since it's a good suggestion, I'll definitely put it on our, say, Marwadi page also. I'll try and see how can we promote it better. But I'll definitely upload in all channels that are available, from social media to the website. So I'll definitely try and do that.
Yeah, sir, because I personally know some of my friends also want to know about this English language and all that, but they may not
They did
follow
not
that
know.
page. So
Yeah, they did not.
yes, sir.
Sure.
That's
So
why, sir.
yeah, sure. So what I'll do is, what I can suggest is that some of you who know me, they can give their request. I'll take some time to respond, but you can be on my Facebook page, because I always upload the webinars on my Facebook page. So I'll do that. So from there you can get it and you can share with your friends. So,
Yeah, sure, sir.
right, so you can follow my Facebook page. I'll definitely upload well in advance so that you can circulate.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I agree with Joseph, sir.
On what?
This information is not more spreading it with a friend, and also
Sure.
I am not a part of Marwadi Institute, but I follow. Then and then anyone get this webinar
Yes. True.
notification.
True. What I can suggest, for at least for my webinars, would be that you can follow my say Facebook page, where I'll definitely upload these things, and from there you can always get it.
Okay, if possible, then you start using Instagram, because
I'm
now
old school. I'm an old school guy. I don't use. I had an account, I guess, but I'm an old school guy. So. But
I
I'll
searched
definitely.
it, but I don't find.
Yeah, I think I had an account, but I'm not active on Insta. Facebook also, it's not very regular. But yes, this is true.
Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
sure. So we'll do that. I think IELTS is, some of them are writing on platform also. So I'll definitely discuss with my department, and I'll try and make some introductory kind of sessions for IELTS. So let's see if it works. Yeah. Okay, friends, thank you. Thank you for your participation, and hope to see you very soon in the next webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, sir.